It's March Mania at Sports Interaction.
Wow.
NHL, NBA, March Madness, MLB, so much more. It's bananas. Bananas.
That was good spelling.
Thank you. Play Pinata Picks and Minute Madness exclusive games with insane odds you can't play anywhere else. Make your next bet at Sports Interaction. Download the app in Ontario. Use the QR code at the bottom of the screen. Or head to sportsinteraction.com/STPN to get started. It's 18 plus. Please play responsibly.
It looks like the Leafs may actually try this 11-7 thing long term. Like they may try to go 7D, 11 forwards. Ryan
Because
O'Reilly.
Justin Hall must dress.
Is Luke Shen back?
Not yet.
Not yet.
He did welcome that him and his wife did have the baby. She had the baby on Saturday night, I believe. Friday night.
I'm not sure.
Okay, I think it was Friday night.
He's not back.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they're doing this thing. So O'Reilly's going to come back, which means a forward is going to get forced out of the lineup.
Mhm.
I imagine it's going to be Aston Reese. And then you'll have a fourth line of probably Lafferty. You'll have three centers. You'll have Kampf, Achari, Lafferty. That's really not a bad situation to be in. That's a pretty good fourth line.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. I'm into it. I do think that they could look at maybe not playing 7 defensemen. I don't know if they need to do that, but if it works for them, whatever.
They don't need to do it, but I kind of look at this team and I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's not the worst thing for these guys. Like, because there are players who, like with Hall, we keep saying, okay, we know what he does well. We know what he doesn't do well. With Eric Gustafsson, we say we know what he does well. We know what he doesn't do well. With Morgan Riley on a much higher end, we know what he does well. We know what he doesn't do well. If they're able to play 7 guys, here's your
penalty killer specialist.
I mean, it seems obvious that the Leafs know who their top defensive defenseman is. It's TJ Brody. If you go and look at the numbers from the Oilers game, he was the only defenseman to play over 20 minutes. The only guy, because they're spreading it out way more. Hall got his minutes by being a penalty killer. Otherwise, he, I think, would have been last or second last. Gustafsson got his time on the power play because that's where you give Gustafsson time. And if it weren't for the power play time, he would have been last or second last. Jake McCabe is being relied on more heavily in defensive situations.
I want to come back to that too.
And they're keeping Riley away from those situations. So it's kind of weird. I don't know if I love it, but I'm willing to give it a shot because it's worked.
Well, and let me ask you this. When Zach Aston Reese is on the ice, what happens?
The Leafs, you know what? He gets it deep. And he was part of the game plan. The fourth line was part of the game plan against the Oilers because the Oilers cannot defend. And what the fourth line did a great job of doing, and Aston Reese was a big part of that, was getting the puck deep, getting into battles, crushing the Oilers against the boards, and just making their night not very good. I like Aston Reese in a playoff lineup just because of how playoff hockey is played. So I'm a little weary of scratching him come playoff time, but
maybe you're not playing a guy like Gustafsson come playoff time. I
think that's the guy.
I think it's the guy for sure. Yeah. I mean, and
but then you could do Shen Hall,
sure,
as like not as a pair, but as
7.
As 7.
I don't know if 7 works in the playoffs.
I can't remember a team doing it.
Well, it doesn't work until it does, right? Like, until you prove that it can.
I'm sure teams have done it like in a pinch.
Yeah,
but I don't know how many teams have gone.
I think that Lightning did a couple of years ago because there were some injuries or something like that.
That was during the regular season.
Oh, was it regular season? But I think when you're trying things out with 20 games to go, I don't care.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is try shit time. You got fucking 18 games less than that, 15.
I want to say they're like 3-0 recently, like trying it.
Just keep trying different stuff, and Keefe will eventually figure it out. And
3-0 or 3-1.
I hope it stabilizes once they get to the playoffs. I think you should not probably do 7 defensemen. It sounds like a gimmick that you probably shouldn't be trying game 1 of the playoffs when that's
especially when you need a first round victory.
Yeah.
Well, okay, get it out of your fucking system now.
Sure.
Instead of experimenting in a winner take all game like they did against Columbus. That drove me out of my mind.
Willie's your new second line center.
Second line center.
Hasn't played there all season long. We're going to do this in an elimination game.
Andreas Jansson's first game in like 8 months.
No. Yeah.
Here,
So
you
Nick
take
Robertson's
out,
in the
take out
lineup.
Robertson to do it.
yeah, I hope we get everything out of the system here, and all this try shit is done by game 1, and they figure out some sort of solid lineup.
It's funny. The Marlies writers were on this
Oh,
because
yeah.
the Leafs tried it and said, oh, well, they need to do it because they're in this situation and blah, blah, blah. And all the Marlies writers were like, the Marlies are doing it too. How come the Marlies are doing it? The Marlies are the Leafs organization is the Leafs organization top down. So you could look at the things the Marlies are doing, maybe even the Growlers, and you can see what the Leafs organization is tinkering with and trying.
Which is Bobby McMahon playing first line minutes. 17 goals in 17 AHL games.
The head coach, Sheldon Keefe, the GM, Kyle Dubas, winning championships.
Oh,
Yeah, there you
hey!
and the Growlers.
There
But
you go.
what do we know about the Memorial Cup?
It doesn't mean shit.
No, it's the Calder Cup.
Oh, Calder Cup. Excuse me.
The
Calder
Calder Cup means nothing. My name is Sid Sixero, and the Calder Cup means nothing.
We should get him to shoot a promo for us. Be like, I'm Sid 6-0, and the Calder Cup means nothing.
I want a
Every
video
year,
from him.
congratulations. It means nothing.
Yeah.
Just to a congratulations shout out.
Yeah, what's your team? The Bears? And where do you play? Hershey? Yeah, that's a place. Yeah, that's real. I'm from Cadbury.
So I want to talk about Jake McCabe for a second. What I noticed was that we love Jake McCabe. Holy shit, do we love Jake McCabe?
Yeah.
But what I loved so much was that with 2 minutes to go, Evander Kane, Zach Hyman, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, all on the ice, and with whoever they played on defense, Ekholm and whoever. Ekholm's so freaking good. It's outrageous.
He's
What a
exactly
good ad. What a
need.
freaking good ad. They need one more.
Yeah.
One more good
I
defenseman.
agree.
Because when you see Connor McDavid, like, all right, set play, and Cody Cece's in there, like, yeah, I got this. It doesn't make sense to me. But I gotta say, seeing Jake McCabe out there, they're killing a penalty for 2 minutes, and then they're killing essentially a 6-on-5 for 2 minutes. Jake McCabe was unbelievable, and I loved that Sheldon Keefe already trusts him to do that because that would have been that's Justin Hall's son.
Yeah.
And Jake McCabe is out there. He's physical. You're not going to get in close. Like, you're not going to, when McDavid's poking at the net, Jake McCabe's pushing him back, and that was earlier in the game. That guy's physical. He moves the puck well. He plays great defense, has vision, and he's tough as nails. There's no question this team lacked some toughness previously, and they were trying to win a specific way.
When they were winning games with Mete Hollowell.
Oh,
it was
crazy.
Lacks.
And by the way, just before you get into the Mete Hollowell thing, I mean that they lacked toughness in previous seasons.
Yes. Not so much this year.
Right.
But they did definitely lack. Like when they were winning games with Mete Hollowell, it's like, all right, it's really cool they're surviving this regular season. This shit is not going to fly when the playoffs come. And the Leafs are going to miss Jake Muzzin and what he brings. So how do you replace that? And they're replacing him long term. Like the acquisition of Jake McCabe, it's good for the playoffs. It's just a smart decision long term that they have this player locked up to $2 million this year and next year and the year after. But it's also a sign that, like, I don't think Muzzin's ever playing again.
No.
It's unfortunate, but it's the one part of the McCabe trade that we didn't really talk about. Like, oh, he's an immediate Muzzin replacement. He's
a Muzzin
down the line
Muzzin
replacement, unfortunately.
I believe their contracts might expire the same year. Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know.
So he's
an unreal player, though.
He is, and I love the fact that Sheldon Keefe trusts him, because this has been, and any coach you'll see in the NHL has this. They got their favorites, they got their players they trust, despite what the evidence shows. Now, I think Leafs internal metrics really like Justin Hall, and they would have access to shit that we wouldn't even been able to fathom. Remember, the team analytics, what they have versus what we have visible to us are completely different. They don't do player cards.
He does some things good.
He does some good things good, but Jake McCabe is a game changer for them.
Yeah.
That is a reliable, great player. And you're not throwing a guy like Morgan Riley out in a situation like that, which is good because he's not good at that. He's good at other things.
They kept, I think he's an elite offensive guy. And they kept being like, hey, Morgan, tonight's game plan is you do everything. And it didn't work.
Mm-hmm. But when you've got Brody, Giordano, McCabe,
yeah,
you can rotate those guys in the last 3-4 minutes. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And Liljegren, too, if they decide to play him.
Yeah. Well,
and Liljegren to me is like he's the best of Hall and Gustafsson because he does both.
To me, all of this, all the conversation that we're having about what this team does to the playoffs, it all hinges on, are they actually going to play Tim? Like, it seems like he's Morgan Riley's D partner. They play really well together. Let that be the thing. Don't take him out. Yeah, well, what do you... I don't care. The conversation starts with, leave him in. Okay, how do we get Shen in? Whatever you decide, he stays. Knock it off. That's your best right-handed defender. Fuck off. Sorry, I'm sick of it.
Do you think that's just a head coach trying to challenge his player to elevate his game with 20 games to go? And of course he's going to get in.
Maybe,
but he still wants to fire him up.
As a Leaf fan, I have an enormous pile of evidence for why I should be worried.
And I think there can be something to be said for giving a player confidence by letting him know that he has this spot in the lineup. It's like if you have a job and you know, like, oh, I'm at this job, I'm a full-time employee, I'm not going to get fired or anything like that, as opposed to like you got a 2-week contract and you're not really sure about where your next paycheck's going to come from after that. There's some assurance in that you have that role and you can get comfy and you might perform better because you're relaxed and you can just dedicate your time to knowing, hey, I'm Timmy Lills and I know I'm in this lineup on this
Timmy
role.
Lills,
Timmy Lills,
you know?
baby.
Like there's an assurance to that. And I don't know, sometimes I'd like to see Sheldon Keefe just give guys roles so they can get comfy in them.
You know what's kind of interesting? We talked about, like 8 defensemen deep. We didn't mention Connor Timmins once. And that dude's signed already
Yeah.
for next year.
I've never understood the Connor Timmins hype.